it is time to actually go through the welcome to the Ipanema stage. Here we begin. I'm Justin. Again, I'm the VP of Ecosystem here at the SDF. I'm super excited to be here. The Meridian stage, the dev stage, is definitely the place where I feel the most excited to be every Meridian. It's where, like builders, we sort of get their worldview. We see how they identify problems, how they implement solutions. And again, the theme this year is the blueprint. So how deliberate design and thoughtful plans allow you to build with purpose. And as I mentioned, innovation always kind of starts with the blueprint. So let's think of the blueprint as the beginning of technical design. We're going to hear a lot about technical designs that derive from blueprints, right? So it's the theme of Meridian. It's what ties everything together. It will come up again and again. But I kind of want to riff on it a little bit, right? Like, so why are we here? So we're here in Brazil, and I think if you step out and look around, I think you'll understand why. It's a beautiful place. It's a beautiful venue. I actually stepped in here, and it took me a while to like acclimate to the grandeur. There are definitely more chandeliers than any other Meridian before, and I've been to all 7. So, but it's also pretty clear why we're here in Brazil, right? You look around, and there are more people here than there ever have been before. It's a bigger event, and I'm going to butcher some Portuguese, but O Rio é duas vezes maior, right? Terrible pronunciation, but the idea is Brazil is twice as big, 2x. And what do I mean by that? Rio is twice as big. Like, I don't mean that by population. Last year's Meridian was in London, 9 million people, 6 million in Rio. But I mean it in terms of like participation. This Meridian is double the size of last year's by participation. The Hack Meridian that we did the 2 days before this was the biggest hackathon we've ever done for a stellar. You know, there were 500 hackers. It was double the size of last year's. And that's because here, you know, in Brazil, there are teams from Brazil, and there are products building for Brazil, right? There are teams like Cheesecake Labs, right? They're strong stellar experts. They're building things like the Acuna wallet that you'll hear about on this very stage. There are teams like Palta Labs. They're building protocols, you know, like SourceSwap and DeepIndex, things that have a crucial role in the ecosystem that you're going to hear about on this very stage. They integrate with wallets, Beans, and Decaf, crucial functionality. There are projects like Abroad, right, which is open source infrastructure that allows wallets to connect and actually make payouts through PIX. So you can step outside with wallets that integrate with Abroad, like Beans and Lobster. And actually, probably if you build a wallet, you could talk to the Abroad team about integrating, or just do it. You know, and there's actual functionality in Brazil. You can use your Stellar wallet, pay with USDC, and using PIX, right? There are teams like Nerex who organized not only the hackathon that we just had, but that has been helping to grow the Brazil Ambassador chapter. They've had 25 events in 2025 and built partnerships with 15 different universities, right? We're seeing in Brazil growing interest, growing impact. So why are we here? Because of all of that ecosystem growth in Brazil, right? But why are we here, right? This stage, this innovation stage, the dev stage, it's called the Ipanema stage, after the famous neighborhood that borders Copacabana, but famous, you know, to the world because of the song, right? When she walks, she's like a samba that swings so cool and sways so gently. The girl from Ipanema, right? It's an iconic song written by Antonio Carlos Jobim, but made famous internationally by Astrid and João Gilberto, pictured here on this beach. 280 meters from here, there is this alley, right? The Beco das Garrafas, the alley of bottles, which is like the cradle of bossa nova. It was that music, that genre was created right there. In the early 60s, there were 3 clubs there where they just played bossa nova, the Baccarat, the Little Club, and Bottles. They're still there today. I went to them on Sunday. They're still playing bossa nova. So here we are, the cradle of bossa nova. Bossa nova means like new wave, right? And this is bossa nova. This is the clave beat that underlies bossa nova, right? It's five notes that are played in this particular rhythm, you know? You'll hear it on the claves in all the bossa nova songs that they play on the speakers. These 5 notes, right, they are sort of, what they do is that they take the sort of essential sound of a samba band that takes like 16 to 20 people. They break it down so that you can play it on a single guitar, right? Like the right hand is, the thumb is playing the surdo, the right hand is playing the tamborim, And they take this, they lay it bare, they lay this beat bare into this clave, and it becomes the sort of blueprint for all of the songs that are built on it, right? So it's a whole genre of music that defined like a generation in Brazil, and that became part of the world music vernacular. And like the person who was really mostly responsible, or one of the people that was really responsible, Antonio Carlos Jobim, Tom, as they called him in the United States, he was like a self-proclaimed lutador. He was very obsessed with this rhythm, and he sat in a locked room day after day, just like trying to figure out how to bring the greatness of the samba that takes 20 people down to this like sort of gentler, more beautiful, sort of elegant version that he could play on one guitar. And the word that he was looking for, the sense that he was looking for was called balanco, which is like sort of a gentle swang. So why are we here, right? We're actually kind of doing the same thing. We have our blueprint, the clave. We've taken something that's a lot more complicated, the sort of EVM chains, the samba. They're big, they're brassy, they're cool, but they're also something that like you could strip down to their essentials and create this like sort of bossa nova, a blockchain. Find the balanco, a blockchain. That's the blueprint. Right? So why are we here, right? So the blueprint, right? Deliberate design and thoughtful plans allow you to build with purpose. We've seen this already. Hack Meridian, we had 2 tracks. Open innovation, you could build whatever you wanted, very cool. But there was a composability track, right? Where people had to build on top of an existing protocol. So blend, source swap, defindex, reflector, kale. And that's an example of how it all works, how the blueprint works. Like, you take each layer of the stack has a plan, from the core protocol to the RPC built above it to like sort of the data analysis programs that take the events and present them in a way, to the protocols that deploy on top of the network, to the applications that like give people access to it. All of those layers of the stack come upwards from deliberate design, and the blueprint is something that we kind of all share to build out that stack in a coherent way. So why are we here? Why are we here? Because something really remarkable has happened as we execute on that blueprint, and it continues to happen as a result of our kind of collective action, which is a Stellar está 50 veces mayor. So Stellar is 50 times bigger, 50. Now, that kind of might sound like an overstatement, but I mean it in a literal way. At the beginning of the year, there were 20,000 smart contract invocations on the network per day, and now there's 1 million, right? 20 times more activity on the network. And that's because of the protocols that I was just talking about, abroad, source swap, defindex, and it's because of the community engagement around the projects that were featured in the composability track, right? It's also because of the work that's gone into the tech stack. And we're going to hear about that tech stack today. We'll hear about DevX, security, better data, the WISC protocol, the first named protocol that introduced features like parallel transaction execution and in-memory state. All that is what you're going to hear about over the next few days. So today, we're going to focus on 4 main topics: DevX, security, data, and core features for scalability and speed. Tomorrow, we're going to focus on 4 different blocks: DeFi and DAOs, wallets and UX, confidentiality and privacy, and the future of Stellar. So welcome to Ipanema. I'm hosting along with Kim. And our goal here, right, in this room is to kind of keep it casual, conversational, curiosity-driven. It's to find that balanco, that balance. So my request to you is like pay attention, engage. When there's a Q&A, ask questions. When we run out of time, find your speaker afterwards and keep the conversation going. So the blueprint is where it starts, but what follows next is like the conversation, the balanco that you all bring to it. Thanks so much. Welcome to Ipanema.